All right, so Nick, welcome to the podcast. Just so I don't get it completely wrong, because it's an Italian surname, how do you pronounce it?
So my surname's Santangeli, but I get all kinds said to me. So yeah, whatever you say, Sam. Yeah, Nick Santangeli.
Right, Nick, welcome to the podcast, mate. It's great to have you on. It's been a long time in the making. How's everything going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Yeah, I've been trying to get this in, haven't we, for the last couple of years, from back and forth. But yeah, finally sitting down here. So I'm happy to be on with you, mate. Yeah, all good, mate.
Excellent. Good things come to those that wait. I think whenever I speak to somebody that's in the forces, I know there's that kind of like initial hesitancy to come on a podcast because it's kind of very much like you have to be careful of what you say. But now you're a civilian and you transitioned out of the army, you can say what you want, well, within reason anyway. So why don't we kind of like start with that? You know, like your forces career. So when did you join the army, and tell us about that and what regiment?
Yeah, so I joined in 2009. So I joined straight from school at 17. So when I was doing my GCSEs, I sort of knew I wanted to join the army, seeing that I needed a couple of C's in maths, English and science. So I just thought, all I need to do now is I can drop everything, all religious education, all that stuff, and just focus on getting C's in maths, English and science. And then I joined the Royal Signals as an engineer. I got a bit conned into it. I wanted to join the infantry originally, and then my mum was like, because I was 17, my mum said, "Oh, I'm not signing the papers unless you get like an engineering job." So the careers advisor was a signal, so he conned me into doing that.
What regiment in the infantry were you going to join?
I don't even know. I just remember wanting to be in the infantry when I was a kid. Like, I want to be in the infantry, and I didn't even know anything about it, mate. To be honest, I just thought, oh, like infantry, and then no, actually, tell a lie. I met a guy in the Irish Guards, and he was dead cool, and I thought, oh, the Irish Guards, and
they're not bad. They're not bad.
I mean, I had no preference really, and then yeah, the guy conned me into doing the Royal Signals, and to be honest, that was a bit of a mistake. But I can elaborate on that in a minute. But yeah, I started off when I was 17 in the Royal Signals as an engineer. And then from there I went to. Do you want to carry on there?
Yeah, keep going, mate. So, yeah.
So from that I went to, because I was an engineer, it was quite technical and quite specialist. So my training was like, from joining the army to being in my first battalion or regiment, it was about not far off 2 years. So I spent like basic training, then went to be like to Blandford to do like the course of engineering, which was like over 12 months. It was quite in depth. It was like university/college. So, but I fucking hated it. It was so bad. Like, it was just sat in a classroom learning about like computers and radios, and I was like, oh no, what have I done here? But obviously I was in at that point, so I pushed through with that. Got to my first regiment, which was 2 SIGs in York, and luckily for me, they were just getting ready to go to Afghanistan. So I was quite fortunate because obviously some people missed out on the tour, and I was like, at least I'm going to get to go away. Yeah. So I got put on at a team called an FRT team, which I think was forward repair team. So basically, it was quite good. It was going out to all the different remote locations and fixing all the comms kits to all the boys, all the infantry, all their radios, all this, all that. And if they were going out on a patrol to a certain location where the comms had gone down, then I'd jump on the patrol with them and go there. So it was nice for me. It was like I got to do a little bit of what I wanted to do when I joined the army, but obviously I didn't have it nowhere near as tough as them boys, because they were out every single day on patrols. Where for me, I'll be in the PB, and then every now and again I have to go out and fix something. So it was nice. It was like I got to do best of both worlds, but obviously didn't have the fucking stress that them boys had every single day. So that was good. Got back from there, and then because I fucking hated being in the signals, I went straight into the gym. I was like, right, get me in the gym. Yeah, like all the boys in the gym. The PT core guy at the time was a guy called Dusty Miller. Absolute monster. Had 2 big scars there and just cool as fuck. He'd done jiu-jitsu, he'd done MMA, he'd done all kinds. And I remember just thinking, like, he's the fucking man, him. I was only like 18, 19 as well. So obviously, and then I went in the gym as a PTI. Then from that, I got top bod on that, so I smashed that. Come back with the gym 2 IC, put myself straight on PT core selection, like within 6 to 12 months. Went on that, got top bod on that, and then badged into the PT core, mate. And then I had 6, 7 years in the PT course. Then I finally got my wish. I was with an infantry battalion, being with two Yorks, 1 Lancs, household cav, the medical regiments. And yeah, they're my 4 battalions in the PT course. So So yeah, and then I was working in the gym, obviously focusing on strength and conditioning and all that type of side of life. So that's my 13 years in the army summarized into like 3 minutes. So yeah, that's me.
That's good, mate. That's good. I remember like following you from early on because I'd seen you'd been posted to the household coverage, and I said, "Oh,
Yeah,
are you in the guards?" And you were like, "No, no, no, I'm PT posted out." Oh, okay,
yeah,
super. And that's I think you'd set up a grappling gym or
yeah,
something down
yeah,
there, and I thought that's fantastic. What I was really impressed with, following the likes of yourself and other guys in the PT branch when they post stuff, is how much the army has progressed in regards to like really got up to speed when it comes to the gym standard.
yeah,
Because if I think back to when I did infantry training in '97, okay, and
yeah,
then when I went up to Catterick,
yeah,
it was pretty basic, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And we were learning, like, especially when it came, because they were still teaching us things like gymnastics. All right, so
yeah,
we'd do gymnastics and box jumps or horse jumps, you know, on the old horse that you would use at school.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And now I look at the kind of gym at the School of Infantry, and I just think, and it's very much on a kind of strength S&C, you
yeah,
know, basis, almost like a CrossFit gym without the madness of it. And it looks awesome, and it looks fantastic. And it wasn't until I worked as a civilian for the Royal Navy for a couple of years, and I was based on a camp called HMS Collingwood, which is it's a phase 2 establishment. And I
yeah,
went to their gym, and this was about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And I remember going to their gym, and I was just blown away. Now,
yeah,
look, when it comes to money and the pot, the Navy get
yeah,
the top, you know,
yeah,
the big slice of the cake, then the RAF, and whatever's left over goes to the army. Yeah. And I can understand that, but they seem to be streets ahead. But it's good to see that the army's catching up. And when I see things
yeah,
like the army BJJ team and the competition that was recently on, and the work that Lieutenant Colonel Seamus Kelly's doing to really drag it up, it's
yeah.
fantastic, mate. It's really,
Yeah,
really good.
in terms of the S&C, we've come a long way. Like when I started as a PTI before I joined the PT Corps, so that was like 2000 and early 2000s. They were still doing stuff like um, I can't even remember what it used to be. It used to be like it'd be a ton up, and you'd have mats, and it'd be like arms, shoulders, chest, back, and you're doing exercise and go around the room. There'd be 10 stations, and that's what like we started off doing. And then now, like just as I'm leaving now, all the gyms are kitted out with fucking 20 squat racks. And what we were doing with 2 Yorks and 1 Lancs was we were doing upper, lower, full body splits, training squat, hinge, single leg movement, rotation, brace. And we were doing push pull, vertical push pull. We were doing low carries. We were doing really good, like simple strength and conditioning. And obviously the PTI still had like the autonomy to do like the more fancy, maybe what you define as fun sessions. But if it didn't have an aim, if it didn't have structure, if it was just a so what session, they weren't doing it. I used to say, no, we're not doing it. We're not just doing random training for the sake of doing random training. We're going to follow a structured strength and conditioning program. And it's good the PT Corps are massively pushing that now, and we're finally coming into like the modern world in terms of like what sports clubs would do. That's why I was sort of the way we like. I don't know if the core view it this way, but the way I viewed it is like an infantry soldier's output as being an infantry. We need to help them become fitter, stronger for their output. It's not about making the PT sessions as hard as possible to say, oh, we've done a tough session, it must have worked. I was like, no, let's get you fitter, stronger, and more robust. So when you put that 50-kilo burger on your back and you go tabbing and breaking, you feel stronger, you feel more robust. And yeah, it's good. It's good. It's nice to see that we're finally coming into like the modern era, because we were definitely behind, massively behind. And we still had sports halls, like gym sports halls, where like I was like, what's the purpose of a massive sports hall? Like, and now we're converting them into strength and conditioning suites, and it's like, and it's just much better use of our training and time, isn't it? It's good to see. So it
Yeah.
is good.
And space. And it'd be interesting to see, since the introduction of that type of applied thinking and, you know, that process, what the reduction of injuries are that are
Yeah.
sustained in recruits, phase 1, phase 2, infantry training. I could never get my head around where I could kind of understand it from a certain perspective where they want to kind of let me give you an example. There's no, I never experienced something called periodization. So it's like if you're, and for a lot of the time, once I progressed to my unit, we went straight into armored infantry. Now, armored infantry is different, you know, it's warriors. You're not tabbing as much, you're not on your feet as much because the warriors covering all the distance. Rocks up, you debus out the back, you attack the trench, clear the trench, you get back in, you go off to the next one, in theory. So, and especially in somewhere like Germany, where at that particular time it was so cheap, big drinking culture, you know, everybody on the rip, finishing early, etc. There was no kind of periodization. So if you got selected for a promotions course or an NCO's cadre, it was almost just like, right, we're going to start the cadre with a fast pace or fast as you can 2-mile run. And whoever can't make it, you're just not good enough. And they cull a load of people. But there's a good case for that. Maybe so, maybe not. But then some of the people start, you know, because they put maximum effort in to get through it, then start picking up an injury and then can't get through the rest of the course.
Yeah, it's such a fine balance with stuff like that, because from, obviously, I've literally just left the military now, so I know where we're currently at, and it's sort of the complete opposite now. Everything has to be built up, so it's like, which I do agree with, as you've just said. Like, but then at the same time, we should always have the minimum standard of readiness and robustness, and that's where it gets complicated. So I agree again with the cadres. If they wanted to do a random 5-mile or 2-mile tab, random best effort, I'd be like, well, why? They haven't been doing load of marches for the last few weeks, so let's build them up. Oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. But at the same time, as an infantier, you should have, not you, but the individual should have a standard of readiness, shouldn't he? So it's a bit like, it's a fine balance, because then if we go too airy-fairy where they have to have weeks to get ready, it's like, well, you should be able to run a decent 2-mile time at a certain pace. Maybe not best effort, but and the younger generation now, they don't want to look after their own fitness. Like, generally speaking, most of the young lads I sort of interacted with, like, it's like every 1 in 10 kids, the other 9 weren't really bothered. So you had to physically tell them what to do every single day, every single month, and it was hard to keep them ready without having them doing that specific training, you know what I mean? So it's a tough one. It's a tough one to skin, but they've definitely changed in the sense of the injury rates are down, we're training smarter. It'll just be interesting to see in 5 to 10 years what effect that has on like resilience and like the toughness of just being able to grizz things, you know what I mean? Because it's a fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what the numbers are with people getting med boarded out as well from training as well. You know, the lack of them being able to progress or complete training. So that you know, injury sustained during training. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. I mean, yourself, you're still a purple belt.
Purple belt.
So purple belt, BJJ. How did you get into that?
So that was when I got to 2 SIGs, when I was like 20, 21, when I got back from Afghan. I started grappling there, and then started MMA. So I started grappling in the gi, and that just wasn't too keen on it. I was doing it, but I wasn't massively a lover of the gi. I think that's maybe why I'm still a purple belt after like 10 years, you know what I mean? I'm not, I haven't put much time into the gi. So from that, I started MMA. Got into that, started the no-gi, because I used to box when I was younger as well. I used to do amateur boxing, so I started MMA, started training that for a couple of years, and then I started fighting amateur MMA. But I was one of many where you think you're going to be a big pro, and you think, I was like, I want to do this, I want to be. Don't get me wrong, I was training properly. I was training with the professionals, was training, dedicating my life to it, and was training like a professional athlete, but at an amateur level. And then after like 5 or 6 fights, I just realised, I was like, yeah, and I'm not gonna be quitting. I'm not gonna be quitting my day job for this. You know what I mean? So I started fighting MMA. I'd done that for about 4 or 5 years. 3, 4. Was that 3 or 4? Oh, 3 or 4 years, something like that. I was training at
Renegade.
Yeah,
you were training at Renegade in Birmingham, weren't you? Yeah.
That's what I mean. I was training with like Leon Edwards, obviously Fabian Edwards, Jai Herbert, Chris Meyer, Tom Breeze. Like, the people I was training with, I remember thinking like, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. It's the fucking sickest thing ever. And then when I come home to Liverpool, I was in the MMA academy, and I had this really nice setup, and it was brilliant. I was doing really well, and it got to the point I applied for a career break from the army. I wanted to take a year off, turn pro, and have a good run. I thought, because I'm proper sensible and logical, I thought I can have a year, giving it a go. And if it's not where it needs to be, if my S&C isn't where it needs to be, because I was going to do the S&C and the pro fighting, then I can just jump back into my career as a sergeant in the PT Corps. And everyone was supportive of it, and then just randomly they just said, "No, we're not going to approve it because it's not a recognised sport." And I was like, "Yeah, but the career break isn't anything to do with the sport. What I go and do with the career break, in hindsight, I should have just said, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. I want to start a family,' and then he would have said, yeah. And then what I do in my spare time. But so I messed up there. Really, I thought it was a positive. I was like, I told them everything, cards in, thinking it'd be a great thing, and someone in Glasgow said, yeah, no, because it's not a recognised sport, we don't want to endorse it. And he said no. Yeah, which is what it is. But then it was sort of like, do I want to leave the army and pursue it? And I just thought, you know what, I don't want it enough, you know what I mean? I didn't, and it just wasn't for me, you know what I mean? I just thought I haven't got the hunger that these pros have, and the desire, and I didn't. I still wanted to pursue the army career. And so, yeah, and then from that, I was fighting in amateur MMA, doing all right, winning one, winning two, losing one, winning two, you know, and I'd done all right. And then my lung randomly collapsed, which was fucking bizarre. I just remember being stood there one day, I was like, fucking hell, I thought I was having a heart attack. And
wow.
and my lung just fully collapsed. So that was about 6 to 12 months recovery. And then I just thought, you know what, I'll just leave the MMA now, you know what I mean? And then started me no-gi grappling.
Thank God you made a good recovery from it, so you could move on to do other things. I think that's that's the realization of it, is that those people that we see in the UFC, we see in Bellator, they are the very kind of top 5% of a massive plane, and it is really, not to use any puns, it's hit and miss. And you've got
ruthless, mate, ruthless.
You've got to have the resources, and you've got to. It's all about timing. It's all about, can I get through this without getting injured? Can I get into the right positions that will catapult me to the right place I need to be?
There's so many factors with that, mate. Like literally, like I'd say professional MMA fighters now, training amateur MMA fighters, and you've all the stars have got to align, haven't they? You know what I mean? It's like, especially when I was training Renegade, there's so many good guys there who fight Cage Warriors, Bellator, all these promotions, and it's like, get a few wins, and then if you lose one, just one tough fight, you lose one, you slip back down, then you win a couple, then you get injured, and then you win a few. It's just like
snakes and ladders.
Yeah, literally. And then I realised I wasn't that talented. So I think, like, one, you need the talent first and foremost, and then two, all the stars have got to align. Then I just think, got to be honest with yourself, haven't you? Got to look at it and think, like, is this going to pay the mortgage one day? Am I going to be able to provide for my family? And for me, the answer was no. I was like, I'm not that good enough that I'm going to be able to pay the mortgage through fighting MMA. So in a way, I'm too sensible. Like, logically thinking about it. Like, but yeah, so I just made that call. You know what I mean? It's just sort of.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, on the flip scale to that, you've got the likes of Leon Edwards that you did train with, and he goes and wins like the UFC belt. I mean, ideally, he should have come back to a parade in Birmingham, giving him the key to the city, and there's nothing.
The quiet, yeah.
Nothing.
I don't know whether it's because I'm biased, because like obviously, just I really like him. I want to see him do well, but I just don't understand how like the country isn't behind these people who like do well. It's like, and especially he's a good role model, isn't he? He's does nice things in the community. He's a good person. You know what I mean? It's like, and he's an unbelievable fighter. And he's the champion of the world. I just don't understand how like the country doesn't get behind him. You know what I mean? But hopefully he's smashing it now, and then hopefully he fucking knocks husband out again on Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we wish him the best of luck. What kind of, because I suppose when you got to the 12-year point, you've got to give a year's notice, and and then the kind of the time starts ticking down to when you're getting out and getting your resettlement in and all of that type of stuff. What was that decision? Because I know before you got out, you also did your MSc. Was it at St Mary's?
Yeah, I've done an MSc in strength and conditioning at St Mary's. Yeah, so I've done that leading up to it. Yeah.
Did you manage to do that whilst you were still in?
Oh mate, I got so lucky with that. So I was posted in London in Knightsbridge, and the job there was really I can say it now, I'm a civilian. It was really easy, like as in like it was probably 3-4 hours a day. Like I'd be like, my work's done. I'm not pissing about. So I'm not obviously I like to keep pushing forward for things. So when I was in London, mate, bloody hell, the amount of things I was doing. I had I was training at with Ross Nichols in London Grapple. Not London Grapple, he was over in Gym Box. I was training with Ross Nichols. So I got in with him, fucking showed hard work, and then ended up training with him and Jed Hugh, like two unbelievable grapplers. I was training with them like 5 times a week, 4 or 5 times a week, every day. So my grappling, no-gi grappling leg lock game went through the roof at the time. I forgot everything now because I forgot it all. But I went really good for a little period of time. I fucking forgot it all. Anyway, I was doing that. I was working in a gym called Metabolic in Camden, really cool gym. I was working there with the coaches there, like doing S&C and group classes. And then also I was doing my MSc in St. Mary's. I signed up when I was down there in London. So I had this brilliant like 12 to 24 months before COVID where work was sound, cracking on with work. I was training jiu-jitsu like a pro athlete. I was coaching, earning good money. And then obviously I was studying a master's in my spare time. So it's fucking good. I was a very productive 12 to 24 months, you know what I mean?
Great. It's good to hear that is.
I got really lucky with that. But yeah, I finished that, mate. And then from that, COVID happened. And lucky for me, mate, just as COVID happened, I got posted to One Lancs in Chester. And obviously I live in Liverpool, so I was buzzing, mate. I got to live at home for the first time. And that was at like my 10-year point. So I had like 2-3 years then in Chester, which was like a blessing in disguise. And that's sort of where I was living at home. So first time since I was 17, I was living at home. So I was like 28, 29 now. And I commuted to Chester every day. My fiance Rachel, she got pregnant with my son now, Lucian. And then when he come, I was just like, I can't live away anymore. Like, I fucking love the army. It was the army for me is one of the best jobs you'll have. Unless you're a footballer, a fighter, a millionaire. For me, General Joe, who like, you still there, mate?
Yeah, still here. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Someone's calling me, so it's just gone off. I'll just decline that. Hope it comes back on. How do we open that back up? Sorry, mate. 1 second. I just need to get you back open. Yeah, we're back in there. You see me, mate? Yeah, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, the army, like General Joe, like I'm just like, I'm not specialist or nothing. For me, it was like the best career in the world. I fucking loved it. All the opportunities I've done. But for me, it was like as a man, when Lucian come, I just thought, can't be away from him, you know what I mean? It's like, I've wanted a son my whole life, and now he's here. Rachel set up in Liverpool, the baby set up in Liverpool. They would never move with me. I didn't want that. That wasn't the option. So for me, it was like, do I want to be a soldier more and be in the army, which I fucking love, or do I want to be the dad that I want to be? And without being too cringy, it was like I had to make that call, you know what I mean? And that's when I decided, right, I'm gonna have to leave the army now. I'm gonna have to get out, type thing.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine making the opposite decision and then suddenly you're posted overseas and then you have to up sticks, take them, or you've got to go and I don't know, do another operational tour. I know that's kind of calmed down a little bit now, but still there are places you could have gone, and it has an impact on your family. I think the stars aligned for you there, mate, and you made the right decision.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I'm 2 months into being a civilian, and obviously we'll talk about this in a minute, like the psychological aspects when you leave, how hard it is, but only time will tell, do you know what I mean? And obviously, yeah, time will tell. In terms of the decision as a man, like obviously being with him every day, I'm like, right, remember that's why you're here, you know what I mean? And when it's tough as a civilian and I'm missing the army and all that sort of pops back into my brain, and I have to just remember the reason why I've done what I've done, and hopefully it all pans out, and you know what I mean? And I'm successful as a civilian as well as I was in the army type thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard. It's like most things. It offers such a support network, you know, that comfort zone, and it's very hard to walk away from, mate. It's very hard to, and you got away just at the halfway point, which is good, because anything other than that, then you may as well stay to your 22. All right, for pension benefits, etc., career. You know, I mean, within 12 years, you'd finished as a staff sergeant. You'd have been laughing, mate. You'd have been on an amazing wage. You could have, I suppose, at that rank, you could have picked your postings or had a massive say in your postings as well, and you would have the luck of the draw. But like you said, you've family over career, so there's nothing wrong with that. Now it's kind of changing, which is where, you know, we're going to talk about now. So you've decided to set up your own strength and conditioning gym, Elevate.
Yeah, Elevate Performance in Liverpool.
Elevate Performance in Liverpool. How's that experience going? And what was the kind of support that you got from the military to help you get there?
Yeah, so to be honest, when I left, when I signed off and that, mate, not in a bad way. I just done everything myself, mate. I just sort of like lone wolfed it. Like the PT co supportive. I had two really good bosses, like my SO3 or SO2, whatever, some captain and a major. Really supportive. Obviously, they're remote to where I was based, but really, really supportive. Like give me everything I need, I think. But I sort of again quite fortunate during my last 2 years in Chester on the side of me working as a staff sergeant in the PT Corps. I set up my own strength and conditioning coaching. That's like 2 years deep now, like from starting properly and setting up as a business. That's flowing, that's great, that's doing really well. And then from that, the last year, I set up Elevate. So even when I was in the army, we were setting up Elevate with my business partners. I was quite fortunate, yeah, I just sort of just cracked on with my business partners, got two very good partners. They helped me in terms of like logistically when I was in work, they were obviously picking up the slack. We got that set up, and then when I went on my resettlement leave, like the last 4 or 5 months of being in the army, when I'm still paid, then I went straight into Elevate and started cracking on with that. So it's good. It's good. It's, to be honest, it's just going to take time, isn't it? These things take time. It's a brand new facility, and we're just trying to get our reputation out there because we're quite different to other gyms in the sense of we're trying to do group strength and conditioning. It's not coming in and doing a 2-mile run, 100 burpees, 10 clean and presses, or whatever that style of training is over there. It's coming in and doing small group strength and conditioning. So if you were to come and train with me one-to-one as an S&C coach, you'd see very similar sessions in Elevate, you know what I mean? Obviously, if you're a fighter and you've got specific goals, yeah, yours will be very different. But in terms of the general philosophy of strength and conditioning, it's that, but in a group session. So our sessions, for example, are split into upper, lower, and full body. They come in, they do a push, they do a pull, horizontal and vertical. Then on the lower body, we're doing a squat, a hinge, a single leg. We're doing loads of carries, and it's trying to treat people like an athlete. I think in civilian world, which fascinates me, people who don't do sports at a high level and who aren't soldiers. So General Dave over there, Dave who just works in a bank, he probably trains more intense than professional fighters do in the weight room and how a soldier does. And I'm like, why are you doing such hard, intense training when you just want to have a healthy lifestyle? And they don't know any difference. So I'm like, okay, you don't know how to train this way. So I'm trying to educate them how to become stronger, fitter, healthier without stressing the body every single day through high intensity workouts, and trying to show people that way of training. And yeah, it's going to take time. You know what I mean? It's going to take time to educate them and show them that they don't need to go a million miles an hour every single day to lose a bit of weight and build some muscle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think I love hearing stuff like that. It's fantastic. I think what really helps is, good baselining individuals. All right,
Yeah.
this is where you are when you kind of came to me, and this all is based on something somebody said to me, a very high physio said to me years ago, right in the early days, and it's like, Paul, what you measure you can manage. Okay, so get the data, get the facts and the figures. So people come in a lot of the time when they go to the gym, like that, I don't know, like a general gym, they don't baseline, they don't know what they're working at, they don't know, they've got no goal. People want to go, well, I want big arms, I want to look bigger, I want I want to lose some weight, or I've got back pain, I want to get to grips with my back pain. But they don't set smart goals, they don't set times, they don't be realistic how much they want to commit. If they've got a sedentary job and they're working 37.5 hours per week, of which they're probably sitting for 7 hours a day, taking minimal breaks, minimal strain, and they're expecting to get that weight loss within the next 6 to 8 weeks by doing 1, maybe 2 hours in the gym, very unrealistic. It's not going to happen. Okay. So I think baselining people at the beginning and saying, okay, mate, here's your weight, here's your height, here's where you sit. I know BMI, you could argue for it and against it. Here's where you sit in BMI. Let's do fat percentage or fat calibration. Here's your body fat. It's 25%. Okay, super stuff. Here's your quads diameter or circumference. Here's your chest. Here's your, all these type of things, data that you can sit. Here's how fast you are. Here's your lung capacity. Here's your VQ max. All this stuff loads of other people don't do. And then, right, you train with me. What time can you allocate to training? Okay, well, you can commit to 3 hours a week. Fantastic. In 6 months' time, this is where we want to be. This is what our target is. once you've got a goal, okay, once you've got a baseline beginning and you've got a goal, yes, they are working towards that. It will be a roller coaster of up and down, okay, because no progression is a straight line. There will be kind of setbacks, but at least they've got something that they're working towards.
And that's it. And trusting in the process as well. And that's obviously where hopefully like my experience, my philosophy for the gym comes in, and they can trust in the process and understand that, yeah, the plan's that way, and we might go left and right now and again, but we come back to that long-term plan, that common goal, and trust in me in the process, and we will get you there. And that's sort of what we're setting down, like the foundations, and that's going to take time because it's a new way. There's a couple of people doing it, which is cool, but it's a new way for most people to sort of train and understand the philosophy.
I've got two people I need to, like I said, I need to introduce you to two people.
Yeah.
One very similar to yourself, who's a former Royal Navy PTI, who's doing something very similar to yourself. And he's probably a few years ahead of you in that aspect, but he's way down south. So I'll get you in touch with him. And another is an ex-bootneck. I think as well, what I would say is, you know, as much as you put that effort into that business, people will leave you. Some of the most loyalist people, you know, because people move on. I've seen this in jiu-jitsu gyms. I'm guilty of doing it myself. The gym I'm at the moment is not where I started, because your journey changes, doesn't it? And life gets in the way, and that could be frustrating, but don't take it personal, mate. You know, when you're doing it ever so well with someone, you think, God, we've got you to your 1 rep max. You know, it was this, look how strong you are, look how great you are, you know, and they'll go, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm doing something else now.
That's it, 100%,
But don't take that. That's never going to be your problem or your fault. That's not a reflection of you. That's just life, and people do move on, etc. So, you know.
Yeah, I think with that, it's good in the sense of like the whole thing. Again, our philosophy for the gym is like the output of the individual in life, and if what you're doing, the output in life changes with Elevate, then that's no problem. The well-being of the patient's more important than the monthly membership to us. On a whole, of course, yeah, we want the gym to be successful, but that one individual, if their life direction changes, this and that, and it's no problem. We'd rather like happy people training than sort of being locked into a contract and not being happy training with you. So exactly, I couldn't agree more, mate. It's like we're here to help people and improve their health and fitness. And if that means, and this is another thing as well, like autonomous, like we want autonomous lifters, as in like, we want people to be at Elevate because they've learned, they love it, they love the environment, but at any point, for whatever reason, they can't stay at the gym, they have got the knowledge and the understanding to go and get a £4 gym membership in Pure or whatever it is, and take the Elevate philosophy, all the screenshots of the workouts and the programs and the nutrition and all the lectures they've watched and all the videos they've watched, and go, yeah, I'm in Pure Gym for 6 months while I save for a new car or something. I'm like, cool, crack on, let's do it. And I'll see you, you know what I mean? That's what we want. We don't want like, we don't want to keep all the cards in, but you don't know what you're doing. You just listen to the instructor. Every session we're explaining, we're telling them the why we're doing it and the movement patterns and this and that. And like I said, if anyone does leave for whatever reason, they'll leave a better lifter, a stronger, more capable lifter than just being told, do this, do that, do that. So 100%, mate, I couldn't agree more with that one.
Yeah, because you don't want to create sheep. You want to, like you said, I like that, autonomize your clients so they feel confident, you know, and then they can always come back in the future should they need to, which is
that's it, and that's it, 100%.
So I mean, you've gone from kind of doing kind of Knightsbridge 3-4 hours a day work to probably what 13.
Mate, I walk the dog with one of my mates who lives around the corner. He owns a couple of businesses, so he's a grafter. He's always grafting. He's changing Elevate now. So when we speak each day, I'm like, is it normal to be tired 24/7? He's laughing, going, mate, this is just a real world. And I'm like this morning, I'm not moaning, I'm just comparing it to the army, but I was up at like, what, 5:45, coaching all morning, laptop work all day, back tonight, get up in the morning, starts again, and the baby, right? And you're like, oh, mate, I had it easy in the army. I had it so, and I did know I had it easy in the army. I did know, like, it's not like a shock, but adapting to being like a grafter, like a civilian grafter, like, fuck me. Like, the graft you've got to put in as a civilian is crazy. We have it easy in the army.
Yeah. Just be careful with that, mate. I would say for my own failures, there was at one particular point I was working a full-time job where I worked on site at BMW 3 days, 2 days on Ford, and then I ran 3 different clinic locations in the evening. So I would start at 7, finish at 5, have an hour off, go to the clinic, and then I would work from like 6 to 10. And I did that 4 nights a week and Saturday mornings. And then and it was to try and get the private practice that off the ground. And, you know,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
this is, you know, because, you know, especially with private clients, they want appointments in the evening. Okay, they don't want to have to go through work. If they haven't got an occupational health provider, they don't want to have to go through work, so they want to come and see you in the evening or first thing in the morning before work. Okay, those are kind of like your prime appointments. But it made, and I sustained that for about 3 years, and it made me really, really ill. Okay, and I failed miserably. Well, I wouldn't say miserably. The first year you're supposed to be in a deficit, so you don't make any money in the first year. Second year you're supposed to break even, and then the third year is where you make a tiny little bit of profit. Sorry if I'm preaching, you know, to the wise, but this is what they say in a new business when you set it up. So the third year is where you're supposed to be kind of making a little bit of profit, and then that goes back into the business for the fourth year. It wasn't until I got to the third year, sat down with the accountant, and he went, "This is how much you've made," and I was like, "Is that it? Is that really it?" And he went, "Yeah." And I just went, "Right, it's not." And I was ill, fat, out of shape, drinking lots, just living a very unhealthy lifestyle, just firing off caffeine on a daily basis, just surviving off it, just to get through. And I would say it started to impact upon the service that I was delivering, and I had to cut it off, mate. And do you know what? Once I did, and got a bit more of a kind of a more better paid job, and you know, a bit more organized with my training and back into jits, massive improvement. So don't feel, you know, obliged. I would say from my mistakes, learning from my mistakes, don't oblige to chase the money in the early set. You've got, like you said, you've got that time to build a business for the first year. You will have kind of struggles and frustrations, etc. Just, you know, stick to what you're worth and know what your worth is. That's the biggest thing, is knowing this is actually how much I'm worth. This is my hourly rate, and it's non-negotiable.
I'm quite fortunate with that. I think because I'm doing this a little bit later in life, I'm not like a young lad. Because obviously, I'm like early 30s with my military experience and having a family and a mortgage. It's sort of, it's black and white. It's not, I just said, non-negotiable. That's what I earn. Like, there's my available slots, and they're the slots type thing. So I'm quite fortunate with that, and I've got quite a good setup, good balance between Elevate and my own coaching and my own training and my family time. I'm quite fortunate. I think it's just me being a big girl's blouse, mate, saying I'm tired. You know what I mean? I'm just not used to the civilian world, because I've had it so easy in the army. But no, it's good. It's just taking time to adapt, and obviously we're being self-employed as well. It's self-employed life, adapting to that after 13 years of a salary. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's something I am big, like, conscious of my own well-being, and I say that to a lot of my clients. Like, I won't do more than 3 hours coaching consecutively for that reason, for the service, because you could be my best mate, but on that fourth hour, I'm not going to be as engaged as I was on that first hour, and it's not right. I view it as a privilege that I'm coaching these individuals for that hour, and I have to give my fucking everything for that hour. It's the best hour of their day, and they're like, "Wow, that session was amazing." So I'm conscious of that. That's something I put in place, like non-negotiable. I will not do more than 3 hours. In the AM and the PM. So I don't actually coach that much, to be honest, because of that reason. And then obviously I do a lot of my online coaching as well. So that's not as taxing on the body, is it? When you're on, it's laptop work, it's not as bad. Where when I'm in person, I won't do more than 3 hours like that. That's like non-negotiable. So quite fortunate that I've got that set up, you know what I mean?
That's a great buffer and a good countermeasure, I think, to, like you say, you know, completely getting tired and depleting your energy. Because when you're with people, you give them your energy. That's the thing. 100%. Yeah. It's like, I'll never book a dentist appointment after work or in the afternoon. I always want it first thing in the morning, when the dentist is as fresh as a daisy.
That's it,
I do not want it at the end of the day.
Exactly, mate. That's it. Like, I'm the same with my coaching. It's like the amount of energy I give off. That's something, to be honest, I'm trying to work on. I give too much energy, not in like a bad way. It's just like, I try and just make it as educational and as amazing as, and I get into it. I need to just calm the fuck down psychologically and be like, all right, just calm down. Because I get into it way too much, and it's as you said, you physically give them your energy. Like, so if I'm like training afterwards, for example, if I'm training before, I've done it a few times. I've grappled straight into coaching, and my energy just isn't there psychologically. My energy isn't there, so that's a lesson learned. I swear to that now. I don't do that now. Obviously my training's always after coaching, because you want to give them as much energy of yours and as much education and passion as you can. So it's again, yeah, it's important to look after your well-being, isn't it, and not fucking give too much, like 4, 5, 6 hours coaching consecutively, because your product does like deplete, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And people will pick up on that. You know, and I've found that there are, I don't want to categorize everyone, but there are a couple of people, or there are a couple of kind of variants in patients or clients, and you know, and some people are drains, all right, and they will
Yeah, yeah,
drain all of your energy, yeah, like the Dementors from Harry Potter.
yeah, that's it, mate, yeah,
They will
yeah, mate.
clean you out, and then some of the people are like radiators, where they just exude or exuberate quite a lot of energy themselves, and you'll have a good bounce off. I mean, some
Yeah.
people when they rock up probably just want to switch off and let you do all the kind of talking and the coaching, but some people will be very engaged, and it's pitching that to those type of people.
That's it. You
What
will be dynamic, haven't you? Yeah.
what kind of, you said like it's been a couple of months, but what type of things have you been, like, say, struggling with or hesitant of since you've left? Like, what have you really thought?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, it's a funny one. Me, I don't know. You're from the Midlands, aren't you? You
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah. So my friend there, Chris Meyer, who's an ex pro MMA fighter, S&C coach, BJJ black belt. Me and him talk a lot about him. We've said we're going to do a talk about it, but that the best way of describing it the last few months is like what you see on like films of like boxers who struggle, and like Ricky Hatton type stories where they've knew nothing else, and then you leave and you're like, fuck, like a little bit of that going on type thing, and like them daily battles, weekly battles, and like sort of leaving your comfort zone, leaving like the phrase, "Oh, I'm in the army." Like you wouldn't believe how many times I've said that, like day to day, like I'm in the army. When people speak to it, what you do? I'm in the army. I'm in the army. I'm in the PT corps. I'm a soldier. I work. Oh yeah, and that like pride of saying that, to then go into being like, yeah, I'm Nick. You know what I mean? And obviously, I know I'm not. As in like, this is where I'm quite fortunate with my mindset. I know I am defined by how I treat people, how I treat my fiance, how I treat my son, all these things define me. I know that I'm quite good with that, with my own like mindset. But then day to day on the surface, when you don't go deep, you're like that feeling of not being in the army. It's weird. So that's something I'm quite nervous about, because I'm not actually out the army until the 31st of March, which is like 2 weeks away. So quite nervous for that feeling of like genuinely just being like, you're not in the army no more. And yeah, I'm quite nervous for it, because in a positive way, being a staff sergeant in the PT Corps defines who I am. Like, on the surface level, I like being who I am. I'm proud of it. I was proud to be a staff sergeant in the British Army, which, even though it meant fuck all, like I know it means nothing, but it does, if that makes sense. It's a double-edged sword. I know deep down it didn't mean anything, but I was always proud. I always had my chest up, and I'm like, I'm the core man. I'm going to lead by example here. I'm going to be a good guy. I'm going to be a good guy to the junior ranks. I'm going to be staying with the higher, all that stuff. And then now you're like, I'm Nick. So on the surface, it is a bit of a struggle. And I know other people struggle with this a bit more, because in Liverpool a couple of months back, I know my friend won't mind me saying, his friend who left the Rifles took his own life, because he left the Rifles, was just a bit like, fucking hell, is this what like civilian life is? Yeah, a bit fed up. I believe this is what I've been told, and took his own life. And so does his mate a couple of weeks earlier, for the same reasons. And like, I can completely resonate with that. Not I'm going to take my own life, but I can resonate how they were feeling. And I definitely have a big chunk of that feeling. But luckily for me, I know how to deal with it, and I know I'm not defined by this and all that type of stuff. But it is definitely an interesting topic that I think needs talking about a little bit more. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to figure out how to get that message out there, that I feel like that, and the things I've put in place, and I'm still putting in place to help me deal with it and help me day to day and stuff like that. So sorry, I've just waffled on a lot there, mate. I'm conscious of just talking
No,
about facts.
no, mate. No,
Yeah,
don't. You just listen. You shouldn't have stopped. That was really, really good. That was. I think we all struggle when we leave something that we've committed so long, something that's hard to get into. You can't just walk into.
yeah,
You can't
yeah.
walk into the army the way you walk into an office job. It's selective, isn't it? You can't join the PT Corps from the signals. You've got to be selected, all right? And all these things are a process. So there's lots of training. This is my own opinion now, by the way. I'm not like, You know, this isn't a professional opinion. This is just my own opinion and experience. But there's lots of training in to that particular standard and how you live your life and how you deliver things and, you know, what you're supposed to be, what's expected of you. And then when you leave and walk away from that tribe or that culture, you know, and you remove that hat, that metaphor for headdress as well, but that we wear different hats and you take it off and you're into something different. And there's no kind of training or preparedness for that, I don't think. So they train you up, but they don't train you out. You know, nobody ever says, okay, look, you know, you were in the top, you know, percentage of the army and being a staff sergeant in the PTI corps, but in civilian street, no, nobody really cares. Yeah. Nobody, no. Are you in Afghanistan? Yeah, nobody really cares. In fact, there are some people that might say you shouldn't have been there. They'll have opinions about that. That's hard to swallow sometimes. Yeah, that's hard, you know, because it's difficult because you believe in, you know, we all believe that we're kind of like righteous and we did the right thing and we were there for the good or the greater good. And then when you kind of come out, that is, I think, a struggle. There's a big identity crisis that goes on. Yeah, I left. I left and I went into, I did my resettlement in construction. I was driving cranes, tower cranes, you know, like up a tower crane for down in London for like 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, earning amazing money, all with the end goal to get me to university because I knew I couldn't afford to get there just, you know, straight into it. And it was, the money was awesome, but it was a degrading job. Like, and it was, there's no kind of interaction with people. There's no familiarization. People turn up, do their work, and then they go home. The banter's different. You know, all these culturally, there's loads of different things. You could say, well, what do you mean by culture? It's just how civilians, or I know I'm a civilian now, but it's just how people are. Yeah, people turn up to work and they leave work.
That's so many people's day-to-day lives, and I think that's where them young lads I was talking about before, maybe they struggle, and I'm quite fortunate, and that's sort of where I eventually, when I've got the time, I do want to try and get the message out, and big advocate for, like, obviously the jiu-jitsu gyms, the MMA gyms, my strength and conditioning gyms, that team ethos, in the sense of you've got somewhere to be, you're part of a team, and if you work, use your example, for example, if you work in cranes where you don't see anyone all day, and you go home and sit in your house, say you're single and got a family, then you sit alone all day, it's like fucking hell, I've gone from being in the block with 20, 30 lads to waking up and doing PT and doing all these things to being alone, sat there. It's like, this is where the advocates for, like, joining a sports club could be. It could be tennis, it doesn't matter. It's like being belonging and part of a team, and coming to, like, for example, Elevate, we're a team, we train together 3-4 times a week, and you have your instructor, you have your coaches, you have your teammates, you have your away days, you have your competitions, you have all these things in your sport. And I think it's so important for young lads or older lads who are struggling with that, like the culture change of just going to work, not really speaking to anyone, coming home, not really speaking to anyone. Like, I can only imagine it's a dark place to be in, because, as I said, I'm very fortunate. I've got my coping mechanisms. I've got the MMA Academy team. I've got my strength and conditioning team who I work with. I've got my jiu-jitsu team. I've got Elevate. I've got my fiance. I've got my son. I've got my family. I've got my house. I'm so lucky to have everything around me. But I look left and right, and I could easily not have that, like some of the other young lads who are leaving. And it must be tough, and it proves it, because there's young lads taking their own lives. So it is definitely a problem, and something we need to. This is why I did want to talk about this, because. And I said this in the very first video I put on Instagram, saying I want to talk about it. I knew this would happen. Months would go by and I just think, I'll just forget it, just leave it. No one's asked, as in no one wants to hear about it. But then what I've got to remember is it's that one person in it. I'm trying to speak to the one person who needs to hear it. I might put it on Instagram and get a bit of interaction, and some people might go, why is he going on about that? He left the army 6 months ago. But that one person might listen to it and go, fucking hell, yeah, come on, let's do something. Let's Google gyms, let's Google jiu-jitsu, let's Google tennis, let's Google Nick and see if Nick's taking any athletes on, and uses that as a coping strategy. Do you know what I mean? So I just think, like, it needs to be talked about a bit more in terms of the identity and, like, the culture change when you do leave the military. You know what I mean? It is a tough one, because, as I said, mate, I'm a strong individual. I know me shit, and from my own brain, I know how to cope with the issues I have. But if it didn't, it would be quite sad. You know what I mean? I can imagine it's a tough place to be in. So it's definitely a topic that needs talking about more. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree any more, to be honest with you. And I don't think you know, the time you got out, or how long, like you saying, you got out 6 months ago, it doesn't matter. I'd still talk about it. And I got out in 2002, you know, so I don't think it ever changes. Isolation is one of the toughest. I mean, look, if you were in prison, what's one of the things they do to punish you? They isolate you. It's a tough thing. So if you do feel isolated, you know, I do think like networks like Jitsu, BJJ gyms, general gyms in nature should have that kind of ability to take somebody on board. And I like things like the reorg charity that I believe at the moment, I might get this wrong, but I believe you could go to, you know, reorg and you can say, look, I've just left, I'm struggling. And they reach out to the gym and pay for your membership.
I think
you know, that's fantastic. You know,
now
there's no excuse not to train. Get in a tribe, start doing something, you know, because we know the mental health benefits of working out. All right. And we know, both of us know the benefits of doing jits. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that, mate. And that's sort of what I want to try and push, like in my area with the MMA Academy, with Elevate, and like whether it be, like, for example, at Elevate, we do a 6-week challenge. It's like whether we can get that paid for by a charity for them, and they come in and we can say, listen, don't worry about money. This isn't a sales pitch because we've got the funding anyway. It's not even about that. It's like, you're struggling, get in here 3 times a week. You're going to see my face 3-4 times a week. We're going to speak, we're going to train. You can communicate. We've got this, we've got that. And it just gives them that team ethos that when they finish work, they've got something to look forward to. Because I hear it now. I've got members now who are sort of not even military, who are saying like they look forward to this in the evening now. Like, they live alone, they work hard, and they work hard for the family, but they're saying to me, I look forward to my sessions here now, and I'm like, that's fucking good. And they're not looking forward to doing a fucking squat. They're looking forward to being in a team class. That's what it is. That's what they're looking forward to. No one thinks, oh, I can't wait to get in there and do some rowing. No one's asked. They want it how they feel. They obviously feel good, don't they? And that's what I'm trying to get across, like the well-being side of like training, strength and conditioning, and getting them feeling good. You know what I mean, about the body, about themselves, about the mind, and we know we're a big advocate for it, aren't we? Physical development, mate. It's massive. It can be a fucking life changer, can't it? So
absolutely,
just need to keep pushing that message and get people in who are struggling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nick, I'm conscious of the time, and I know you've got to go and do some coaching. So where can people kind of find you? How can they find out about Elevate Performance? Let's go, plug away.
Yeah, sorry, my phone's just gone off again. Let me just get it back on. One sec. Someone's keeps phone. Can you hear me and see me all right, mate?
Yeah, got you loud and clear.
So yeah, my Instagram is nicksanta_coaching. My gym is Elev8liverpool. And both of them have got websites and that. If you're interested on that, have a little nose, or you want any more info on my online coaching, which is obviously doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you want to work with me, reach out on my website or my Instagram. And yeah, my main focus now in terms of my one-to-one coaching is like combat sports. So grapplers, predominantly MMA fighters, boxers, trying to push that as much as we can. That's most of my clientele at the minute, to be honest. And that's something we haven't had the chance to touch on, about like how strength and conditioning, and especially in jiu-jitsu, is like still so young, and there's still so, I know so many high-level grapplers who haven't got a clue about S&C, and I think
part 2. All right, this will be part 2. Yeah?
Mate,
because we could talk about this till the cows come home. You know, and I'm very interested. This is that whole conversation is an hour in itself.
100%, mate. Honestly, like it's crazy. Like, just they still, like, some people still think like, oh, if I spend an hour doing something that's not jiu-jitsu, it's not going to get me better. And I'm like, oh, mate, like your knees are going to pop soon, something's going to give. You got to look after your body, especially in jiu-jitsu. Mate, how bad is jiu-jitsu on the body? And anyway, I'm waffling on there.
No, you're right. It has jiu-jitsu has an incredible way of breaking down the body, and I always say it's not a matter of will I get injured, it's when you get injured, 100%, how are you going to manage it, and what are you going to do to kind of negate that and to reduce your time so you can get back to doing what you love more and get back on the mat. So okay, Nick, we'll finish there, mate. It's been great chatting to you. Thanks so much for your time. I know you've got to go. You shoot off at 12:30, so we will finish there. We'll go for part 2, and thanks very much for your time, mate. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. Enjoyed talking to you, so I'll speak to you soon.